what a change in the season. The way you think it's going to go versus the way it's going to go. Dylan Raiola is out for the season, and it's TJ Lateef time. I brought talking points, not really a full speech, but, talking points. I'm going to run for office. No, I'm not. Anyway, where do we go from here? Let's get started. Where do we go from here? Well, I guess we, for all the people that wanted to see Dylan Raiola get benched and TJ Lateef and see what he was going to do, I guess we're going to get our, we get our wish. And I include myself in that. I mean, I bitched about Dylan Raiola quite a few times this year. I think that, I think Saturday night we got into a rock fight with USC. And I think it was going actually fairly well throughout the game until Raiola got hurt. We mixed the run and we mixed the pass in. People are like, why didn't we run the ball more? Well, you can't. You got to mix it up. You just do. You can't be a run-only offense with a guy that has to find yardage because his offensive line isn't that great at opening holes. I think Emmett Johnson, I've said this, he's turned into an excellent back, probably one of the better backs in the Big Ten because he's had to. Where do we go from here? I think it'll be interesting to see what Dana Holgorsen does with the offense, or Matt Rhule lets him do with the offense. We got to see more designed runs. I would hope that we don't actually see very many option plays. I suppose a lot of people would like to see that. It was kind of ironic that USC ran that speed option on us, like they were like insulting us, and it was just a speed option, man. When TJ Lateef first took the field, one of the first things I thought was, that guy's really tiny and he's going to die out there. And that's why I don't want to see him running the ball that much. I don't think we should become the Nebraska of the old days under Osborne. It's not possible to do that anymore. I keep saying I'm going to make a video about that. And I do have a formal history script partially written about it, about why you couldn't use that offense in today's game, or you could. It's a mystery. You'll have to see what happens. But does TJ Lateef strike you as a small guy? I mean, he doesn't look that big to me, surrounded by BMs. I mean, I know he's like, 6'2", 200, but that seems small compared to everybody else. Next thing I have down is what else has changed about the season? I think it's interesting that the narrative change, throughout the conversations on social media, and a little bit in regular media too, we've gone from Matt Rhule's magic third year to we're the youngest team in the history of the world. And we are the youngest team. We are a damn young team. We have like 80 or 90 freshmen and sophomores, which isn't, it's not bad, but it's just interesting how the narrative has changed from what it started at the beginning of the season. And I see people on social media making excuses for our team because, they're young and we're going to be better next year. And, Saturday night in Lincoln with the blackout, they had, I don't know, gobs of recruits, like 60 or some bloody thing like that. And, a lot of them are 2027 recruits because 2026 class is going to be small because our roster size is already so huge, full of young players. And I guess when I see that, people are talking about, we're going to be great in 2027. All I can think is, I'll probably be dead by then. I mean, it's not fatalistic, it's just, you just go, how much more are we going to push this out into the future? How much more next year? How much more of that are we going to get? I don't want it to be next year. And, this year we do have a chance to still win 10 games because, 3 games in a bowl. I was going to say the Rose Bowl. I don't know how that came out. 3 games in a bowl. Who knows what's going to happen next? I'm sure there's a lot of you that have opinions. UCLA is up next. I don't have a lot about them because I think that's going to be, again, we don't know we're going to get out of us. We don't know what we're going to get out of them. It's going to be in LA. It should be a lot of fun. I should have flown out to it. I'm not going to make it to any games this year, it sounds like, just because of work schedule and fate. That's what it is. I did not talk about Matt Rhule's extension. Even after the loss against USC, I'm still in favor of the extension. Apparently, we have unlimited. Everybody in college football apparently has unlimited amount of money now because, I'm not a big Sark fan. Steve Sarkisian from Texas, not a big fan of his. But he did say something I completely agreed with. And we're up to, I think, 12 firings mid-season now. And he said, who are all these schools going to hire? And that's one reason why I'm glad we're retaining Matt Rhule. And number two, I think he's on the way. But who are all these schools going to hire? You fired James Franklin. How much better are you going to get than that guy was as a coach? I realize you wear out your welcome after a while, but I did have an idea, and maybe I'll run it by you. I thought that maybe like Lane Kiffin could stay at Ole Miss and be the coach of Florida and Penn State. Yes, I know it's stupid, but he's just a CEO. I mean, if he's like a head guy that just flies around and manages things, I guess there's the Ole Miss Florida conflict in the same conference, but give it a thought. Maybe you could have the AI Lane Kiffin. We shouldn't go there. I'll just leave that alone for now. Matt Rhule's extension, good idea. I mean, it just, his buyout got extended. His salary didn't really get increased. It was just a sign that we're going to keep him and that he's going to stay in Nebraska, and that's fine with me. I think if you can't see improvement from what we have or where that guy we fired before Matt Rhule left the program, I don't know what you're looking at. We certainly have, there's certainly things to work on, but that's true for everybody. Warning signs. I thought that the whole 4th and 1 fiasco it's a huge warning sign for Matt Rhule going forward. I think if you like in 3 years, if we fire him, or 2 years, if we fire him, I think that you can look back on that one game and just look at that as a big red flag, or a big, red flag. He came out and explained it, and it still was like, what the hell were you thinking? I mean, you're practically at midfield. Well, you are past midfield, but I don't remember what yard line it was on. You're in a rock fight, okay? And the rock fight is going well. And if you're in a rock fight, I think one of the things that you always need to take is field position. I think of Iowa. Iowa would have punted there. Why? Because Iowa knows how to rock fight really well. They win games like that all the time. And I think we purposely drew USC into that rock fight, and we were winning it until, Dylan Raiola got injured. But the whole, we sent him out there. We were going to draw him off sides, and then we decided, we had to call a timeout and have a guy try to kick a career-long field goal. I think everybody has acknowledged that that is a problem, that his game management needs work. I've seen people comment that maybe he could hire somebody to help him out. And I just, hire somebody to what? Help him with what? Be a better game manager? Tell him to know when he's going to do something? Take over for him? I've seen other people say, well, maybe we don't need to fire Donovan Raiola or the line coach. We just need to bring in somebody that will coach the tackles. You're going to bring somebody in to do a guy's job because he isn't doing his job. That doesn't. How many people do you need on a staff? What does Ed Foley do? I'm sure he does something. He makes a lot of money, probably. What is Phil Snow doing? I'm sure he's there to be a consultant for John Butler, the defensive coordinator, who, by the way, I think is doing a pretty good job, given that we held USC to 21 points. That wasn't bad, even though we gave up a lot of run. Those guys on the defensive line will be much better next year when they gain some weight and strength and have some experience. And that's probably true. It's just the freaking next year stuff all the time. Years ago, there was a book called The Mythical Man Month, and it's more of an IT book than a business book. This goes back to how many people you need on your roster. Okay? There's actually a relevant point here that I'm going to make. The Mythical Man Month basically attacked the idea that if you had a project that was this big, let's say you estimated your programming project was going to take 2 years, well, you should just be able to hire twice the developer and it would only take 1 year. And that's completely wrong. Why is that wrong? I don't remember the whole book, but it really comes down to this. It's because IT technology You don't need a lot of people. You need the right people. Okay. If they're really productive, you just need the right people. And I think when I see all these people saying this stuff about, oh, we need to hire a guy to do this, we need to hire, how many freaking people do you need on the staff? I said that already, but it is coaching football about having just a shit ton of people on staff, or do you just need the right people? And I'm thinking, you need the right people. I think the wind has calmed down. I take this now. But I think you really just need the right people, and that's why I think toward the red flag, the game management's big red flag. I think if he doesn't replace his offensive line coach after this season, that'll be another big red flag of is he going to be successful or not. Uh, what else do I have in this one? I bring up happiness. It's the last time I brought up anger. Is anybody happy with their football season team ever? I mean, anybody anywhere? I'm coming to the conclusion that the answer is no. You know, I've lived in Minnesota since 1987. The Minnesota Vikings, you know, kind of a big fan base of those people here. There is not one year of their existence where they haven't let their team down. And I obviously have friends that are Vikings fans. God help them. I've been a Packers fan my whole life just because years ago when I was like in first grade, my friend Dale said we all had to pick an NFL team, and that was the only one I knew. So I got stuck as being Packers guy. And now I moved to Minnesota. It's like one of the funnest thing ever is to be a Packers guy in Minnesota over the years. But I've known, you know, Minnesota Vikings fans that, you know, who the ones are that are happy with everything in the NFL and their team. They're the ones who don't take it that seriously. And I've realized they're the ones who look at football as more of a social event than they do as a gridiron clash. Let's get windy again. But maybe I'll explore this further in its own video. But, you know, I remember years ago, I had to follow my next door neighbor, Tim, around the neighborhood after I think Dennis Green was coach and they lost like 41-0 or something in a playoff game. And he was just banging on people's doors and might have been alcohol involved. Just, and I just wanted to make sure he didn't get arrested or attack anybody. That's what football does to a lot of people. That's what it does to me, or it did. You know, anymore I try to stay on a more even keel. But that's the other question I'll have. Are you ever happy with your football team? Ever? Because it sure seems like nobody is. One of the I work with two guys pretty closely. One's a Wisconsin guy, poor bastard, and then the other one's a Penn State guy. And the Penn State guy is I've worked with him almost every day. And at the beginning of the season, he was like, "We got to make a bet." And I'm like, "I'm not making a bet on this game unless you give me like 50 points or something." Well, that's certainly changed because now. He started this thing this week where he has like a psychological break going on, and he pretends he's never heard of college football and he's not a college football fan. Kind of spitting. And if we bring it up with him, he acts like he doesn't have any idea what we're talking about. So that's an interesting way of handling how your season is going, is to just ignore the fact that it ever existed. There's another pro tip for you. UCLA coming up. Are we going to win? And who knows? You know, they're slightly favored probably because we have a freshman quarterback that hasn't played that much and we don't know what we're going to get. After that, we get to go to Penn State, which even though they're all beat up is, you know, mentally they're all broken. You know, what's going to happen there? I have no idea. Nobody does. And then Iowa's going to be tough because they're always tough. They have one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation. They have always a good defense. And we don't know what's going to happen there either. We don't know what TJ Lateef is, you know, it is going to turn out to be. Okay, this is running a little long. I hope you're all staying with our beloved Huskers, you know. And that's it for now. Take care of y'all. Love y'all. Thank you for the support. And go Big Red. Oh, you know, this is the last probably of the fall colors because the trees are emptying themselves really quickly. I have like 642 pounds of leaves in my front yard, and I don't have a very big front yard. Normally what I do is I don't do anything. I hope that they blow into the neighbor's yard. I hate lawn work. I hate it. Okay, there you go. Soon it'll be frozen, barren winter, frozen tundra time, and I guess I'll come down here and show you what that looks like. All right, that's it. Take care. Click.